PowerPoint you let up?
I do, yeah, you're welcome to go ahead. We'll see. Oh, you're being cautious. It's good they can see that right now. Makes it more fun. It takes their life away. So we're going to go through this today and answer all the questions at the top.
Legal myth busting.
True or false? We'll go through some common legal myths. Well, assumptions. That's better way to put it. Very hot today. Gosh, I love the weather. It was cold and now it's hot. Very windy. And if you have to go home down I-35, don't. They've completely shut down at 290 and I-35. Really helpful, especially when they say hour-long delay anticipated. I'm like, yeah, so access roads all the way. All right. Boss lady, I didn't know PowerPoint or PDF. I've had trouble everywhere I go, so I always save it in both. Because generally people can look at a PDF. Ah, perfect.
Wireless presenter.
Oh, my clicker can do. I don't think I need a microphone.
I'm just going to do a quick introduction for people online too.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, so welcome guys so much. We appreciate you guys so much for attending. For those of you who are online, we appreciate you guys for attending, and we apologize for the delay. It was unavoidable. So our presenter today is Ms. Sylvia Holmes. She is an attorney at UT who represents students in civil and criminal matters throughout Travis County. She has been licensed for over 10 years here in Texas to practice law, and she's also an active volunteer with the Junior League, the Rotary Club, and the Sustainable Food Center. And then currently, she is also running for local government. So, you know, women can do a lot. So she is here to talk to you guys about avoiding legal assumptions. So please, let's give a round of applause for Ms. Sylvia Holmes.
Here's a handout for you. People come in late. We've always got a few. Just let the extras on the table, maybe. Hey, y'all. Thanks for coming today. So that's it. But that's not right. And the reason I put that here is because this is what I hear a lot in my office. But that's not right. That can't be right. That's not fair. That can't be legal. It is. So we're going to go through some really common assumptions. And on your sheet that you've got, we've got 1 through 8. We're going to go through them literally in that order. And you can decide if you think to each of these true or false, and then I'm going to answer it. And you're welcome to interrupt me with questions, because what I find is that a lot of this just applies into everyday practicality. You know, once you explain it, you go, oh, that makes sense. But it doesn't at first blush, because our assumptions get in the way. So what is an assumption? Right? I think it'll work. Am I doing it wrong? Okay. Assumptions are things that we believe without really having merit or facts to support it. It's just something that we thought was true. As a kid, I assumed Santa was real until I saw my mom wrap the presents. And I went, oh, maybe not. As a kid, I thought power was just magic and occurred everywhere. I didn't realize that my dad paid a bill for that, right? So assumptions are things that we just believe to be true. And what I find is great that because of modern college and higher education, we assume a lot of things because our colleges are delivering a lot to us, like free legal services. But that causes problems, and I don't know. The first assumption is that the law is going to require fairness. Who believes that to be true, that the law is there so that everyone has an equal footing? Seem about right? That ain't true. It's not. There is fair, there's decent, there's reasonable, there's good business practice, there's common sense, and then there's lawful. Lawful. And emphasis on the awful and lawful sometimes, okay? Especially with landlord law. Get ready. You don't have any rights. You have a lot of responsibility when you rent. So that's an important part, because it's false that you have to be fair. The law must only be equally applied, but the outcome never need be fair. So big distinction there. Miranda rights. How many of you think you've got to be read your rights when you get arrested? We see this on TV. Cops loves to do it, right? Completely false. Under no circumstances need you be read your Miranda rights when you're arrested. Never, ever, ever. In fact, they only do it on the TV show Cops for TV. In real life, you'll never be read your rights. The only time you have to be read your rights per the lawsuit Miranda v. Arizona, which is where that phrase Miranda rights comes from, is if you're going to be interrogated. But many, many, many Supreme Court decisions have said asking you where you've been, where you're going, and what you've been doing tonight is not interrogation on the side of the road. That's called question and answer. Hey, how are you? Right? I'm allowed to ask that. Police are allowed to ask questions to ascertain what's happening at that moment. They just can't interrogate you without Mirandizing you. You're not going to be interrogated for a DWI or possession of marijuana or a hot check. You're simply going to get arrested. Very, very different. The number of students that come in and tell me, they didn't read me my rights, I'll go, who cares? Because it doesn't matter. The only time you actually get read your rights most of the time is when you get booked into jail. You end up seeing what's called a magistrating judge who actually tells you what your bond amount is, you know, how much money we need from you to get out of jail. That's the person who reads your rights. And you read your rights in tandem with all 50 other inmates sitting there with you. Only on TV and in magic movies does this occur. So that's just not true. In fact, I get it a lot. Never happened. Heating and air conditioning. How many of you think the city's got to give you heating and air conditioning? Your air conditioning goes out in the summer. Do I have to fix it? No. I'm under Texas law. One judge who's not long, he's retired now, remember very clearly, he said, oh, Miss Holmes, your students are just soft. Remember, we settled this country in a wagon. Open the window and get a fan. And then the air conditioning went out in his courtroom and he reset all his cases. So that's okay, because he can do that. Technically, Texas law requires neither air conditioning or heat, and some of this is because we have federal buildings, including a state prison, still unair conditioned. So if it's cruel and inhumane for you to be without an AC, we have to retrofit some of our buildings, and we ain't doing that. So there's no air conditioning or heat. The City of Austin ordinance provides you with heat when it's colder than 64 degrees outside. Yes. Now, a little bit to that, though. If the only time you are by law required is with the health or safety issues, so nursing homes and daycares. People who are too old or too young to be able to move to a cooler location need to be given air conditioning, but all of us are able-bodied, get up and go outside. Fair, reasonable, decent, lawful. Anyone think that seems fair or reasonable? Yeah. Lawful, so no air conditioning. Little bit to that. If when you move into an apartment or a house that you're renting, if the air conditioner is working and through no fault of your own it stops working, the landlord should fix it. But there's no requirement that they do or that they do it in any kind of timely fashion. If it's a health or safety issue, and it's not, law says it's not, then you have a right to demand a repair within 7 days. But air conditioning is an amenity, like the dishwasher and the microwave, which are also luxuries that need never be repaired. So I did have a student who complained that the dishwasher was really loud, so the landlord fixed it, made it silent, they removed it. So there's the dish, there's the sink, learn to do it your mom's way. Fair, reasonable, decent, lawful, right? You're a landlord, heck yeah, it's lawful.
What if it's in the rental contract?
If it's in the rental agreement and it's listed as an extra amenity that you're paying for, then they'd have to fix it. But again, it's not a health or safety issue. If you're not paying an extra monthly fee to rent the air conditioner, like $5 over the rent, you have no individual right. Which is why furnished apartments can give you all the wonderful stuff and then never actually provide it. If your lease just says it's furnished, or we're going to give you appliances, and when you show up, you've got an air conditioner and a dishwasher, but it's part of the base rent, it's just included, then if they stop working, you don't get any reduction, because your rent, it's an amenity, it's like the pool. The pool never has to be open. The microwave never has to work. But if your lease says you're renting a washer and dryer at $10 a month, you're renting a window unit air conditioner at $5 a month, and it stops working, then they have to fix it because you've paid for that particular service. But if it's just included, no. Which is why most complexes will include all the amenities as a bonus. But then if the tanning beds never work or the monitors never have cords to charge them, that's what I heard a lot. The computer lab has no mouses and no power cords because everyone stole them. Common complaint I've had. So how about written notice? Your lease will tell you that you've got to mail the landlord or something, or you need to notify them in writing. Does email count? Never. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Email is an instant communication. It's considered too casual to show notice and intent. Generally, as a rule of thumb, and tell your friends this, chant it, it's a mantra, you have to mail them a letter with a stamp, an honest-to-God stamp. You put it on with your thumb and you stick it in the box. I had a grad student who was defending their dissertation who honestly asked me how to mail a letter, and they meant it. And I said, well, you'll be on a stamp. Okay, well, then what? Then you put an envelope and you mail it. Well, where do I mail it? At the mailbox. What do you mean? And I'm not kidding. We walked it through gently. What we discovered was that they lived in a complex, and when they checked their mail, they believed that the outgoing mail spot was for junk mail. So, yeah. So they just put their spam in there, like, here you go, it's outgoing, like it was going to be shredded. So, stamps, got to do it. The reason you absolutely have to mail notices for intent. I'm dealing with college students, so a little bit of casual parlance. You can't drop dial a mailed letter. You don't butt dial that, right? You didn't hit reply all by accident. If you mailed someone a letter, you clearly meant to communicate to them because you took all that time and effort to do it. So any time in your life you have a dispute with the business over money or with your landlord for a repair, you absolutely must put it in the mail. There are no exceptions to this under the law. So buy a stamp, because even if the landlord or the business says, come and hand deliver it, call me and tell me, email me, that does not trigger your statutory rights under the law. So print the email out, sign your name, stamp it, and mail it every single time. This is probably the #1 thing that trips people up in my life. They come in and they've been, it's been 2 months, you won't fix it. I'm like, well, show me your letter. Here's 8 emails. See in your lease where it says signed and written notice and it says you understood it? Here's the statute, signed, written. You can't sign an email anymore. So you've got to have a stamp every time. This is really, really important. And here's how I'll make it obvious. You're going to graduate. You're going to get married. You're going to send out an invitation because you want a present. How do you send that invitation out? Right? Fancy Nancy, put a seal on it maybe. When you're having a Christmas party or a football game or you want to see if we're going to win the next bowl game, how do you invite your friends to your apartment? Maybe you used to use Facebook, not anymore. Right? But that's an easy one. Text them, Facebook. And you know how casual that is? In your life, if you want to get a reimbursement or it involves money, put a stamp on it. Got it? Okay. If you're dealing with money, put a stamp on it every time. It's 50 cents. It's 50 cents. And the best part is that if you're ever in front of a judge and they go, did you mail them notice? Yes, I did. But that's a heck of a lot better than going, well, I emailed them 50 times. Because they don't care. You've got to mail it every time. So keep that in mind. Yes.
Would you recommend then, just for safety, to do a registered letter or something that you have proof to show?
That's a great idea. Yes. If you're involving yourself with a repair situation or a debt collection, it is a great idea to spend $6 to spend it certified, which for $3 proves you mailed it, and for $3 more as a return receipt, it proves they got it. So for $6, the federal government will back you up and go, oh yeah, she mailed it, they got it. Case closed. And under Texas law, if you send a letter that way to your landlord for a repair, they have 7 days to fix it or you start getting to charge them. But if you just call them, you've never told them, and if you just mail them with a regular stamp, they get 20 days to fix the problem. So 2/3 of the month before they even come out and look at it. Great question. Dying without a will. Anyone heard this one? Don't have a will, it's expensive. Anyone ever heard this one? You might be too young, but you're going to have family members that start saying it. Oh my God, Texas is a great state to die in if you have a will. Here's why. If you don't have a will that automatically authorizes someone, and marriage doesn't do it, just being married does not automatically trigger this. Without a will, if you want to, say I passed away and I want my car to be transferred to my husband, or I want my old bank account that I opened when I was single to now be given to my husband, or I want all of my Facebook accounts to be turned off so he doesn't get death notices on my birthday, right? I need a will, otherwise he doesn't have authority. If you die without a will, it's called intestate. You die intestacy. And as a result, your loved ones must go to court for permission for every single thing. Hey, court, can I have permission to go get the last $13 on her bank account? Hey, court, can I have permission to transfer the car worth $1,000 to her sister? Okay, cool. Hey, court, every single time we have to go to court, we're wasting time, money, and effort. When in 30 minutes you could have solved your family's all of their hassle by handwriting a will. That simple. Texas is one of the great states to die in. I think that with a grain of salt. Because we have wonderful no income tax, none, and we have what's called a self-proving affidavit. You just sign it in front of a notary that says, I promise, I really want this person to be in charge, and they don't have to put up any money. And after they have that, they just get a letter from the court the first day that says, yep, go take care of it, and they never go back. They just get to show that letter everywhere they go, to transfer the bank account, to transfer the title. That's it, self-proving affidavit. Got to have a will for that. It's so easy to do, y'all. But if you don't, you're causing your family lots of heartache, lots and lots of heartache. So in other states, this may not be accurate. There are some states where it's a little bit split. Texas, we're very helpful. It's a great idea. Winning in court. I'm going to sue. Great. How do you get the money? Do you know if you can collect on a judgment? This may actually be heartwarming if you have a lot of debt. You can't collect on a debt in Texas unless it's child support, student loans, or unpaid federal taxes. That's it. So you take me to court and sue me and tell me I owe you $50 million. You're right, I do. Never paid it. Never. Ever. There's no way to garnish wages unless it is one of these 3 protected statuses. So that's where the moral side comes in. You know, you should pay me, don't have to. Don't ever have to. Texas is a very specific state. This way, you may have heard in Texas history that we're a debtor-friendly state. Go back and check about Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie. There's a reason they came to Texas. Child support. I'm pressing charges. Ever heard this one? Yeah. You can't do that. That's false. So far, every single thing on there is false, y'all. Are you catching a trend in this? You cannot press charges. I love when people, even the police will say, do you want to press charges? Private citizens don't have the opportunity to do that. So that's just a miscommunication there. What happens is people can file a complaint. Hey, I want to complain that my neighbor stole my car. Hey, I want to complain that someone wrote me a check and it bounced. Hey, this person wrecked into me and had no insurance. But that's you complaining about them. The state, the city, and the county must investigate with their police departments and decide if they agree a law has been broken and they can prove it, and then they file charges. This often comes up in assault cases. Sometimes the alleged victim really wants to press charges, and that's great. But we still have to have evidence of the crime, right? Sometimes the victim never wants to press charges, and that comes up a lot in family violence, right? Especially if the person who is the perpetrator is a family member. You know, I want the abuse to stop, but I don't really want to get my uncle in trouble. I don't really want my dad to go to jail for what's happening. I don't really want my husband or my wife to get in trouble for what became a loud argument that night. So whether or not the person wants to file the charge, the state's going to intervene if this person's being abusive. Does that make sense? So you don't have the right to file charges. You can file a complaint, but it's never up to an individual whether or not charges are brought. That's always going to be made by an elected official, the county and district attorneys. So you can complain all you like, but that does not immediately mean they're going to go to jail or get prosecuted. Those are very different things. Terms and conditions. How many of y'all have ever read the terms and conditions of the download? Ever? I'm a lawyer and I don't read that stuff, y'all, but we're supposed to. We're totally supposed to. I remember it was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now. Some big gaming company was giving away free games on April Fool's Day, and in the terms and conditions, they'd added a clause in which you gave them your soul for eternal. So you sold them your soul to download the game. And the next day, they issued a statement. They emailed everyone who downloaded the games that day and was like, so after conferring with counsel, we've discovered that's not an enforceable provision. We're giving your soul back. Here you go. And they did it tongue-in-cheek, and at the bottom was a reminder, did you read our terms and conditions? Doesn't look like it. Meaning that people just check that box so randomly because we kind of assume that it's boilerplate, right? This is what happens with things like leases and car contracts. You go, well, I know how to lease, you just pay rent. It's like a blender. I don't need to read the instructions. You put ice in, you hit blend. What's happening, right? You got to read them every single time. Just this morning, I had the most insane case came in. How do I describe this without, so a car dealership in town. There's a national incentive by a big company that if you sign up for them to be a driver, you can get money off the car purchase. Anyone heard of this? There's a company out there that's offering incentives. If you'll sign up to be an employee of theirs, they'll give you a discount on a brand new car. It's usually by Hyundai or Kia. Okay. It turns out everyone's getting this discount, but they never signed up for it. Looks like the dealership may have just filled out forms. Oops. But if you go back and you look at the bill of sale, it's pretty clear that it's on there. But all they were listening for was what their monthly payment was on the car, and not really concerned about how the financing occurred. Anyone ever done that? You know, I don't really care how you qualify me, but I can buy it today and you'll give me a card and it's just $10 a month. Cool. That's a problem. You've got to pay attention to what you're clicking because they mean it and they're enforceable every single time. Here's a new one that's now added into every single Texas apartment lease. After this year, when you sign a lease, you waive all rights to join into a class action. So if it turns out they've knowingly put asbestos in the walls for the last 10 years, you must all individually hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit. Before, you automatically got lumped to in a class action. You didn't even know you were part of it, and they would just send you a check at the end of it. Can't do that anymore because you waived that right now in your lease. If you don't read it and see it, you're stuck with it. A lot of leases include common things like standard move-out fees and cleaning costs. I see a common where you've got to pay $150 to have the carpets cleaned before you leave. You know who you have to pay the $150 to? They're a cleaning company. But if you pay that, does that mean they can't charge you to replace the carpet? No. I'm glad you cleaned it, but you'd also destroyed it. Even though it's clean, it's still beyond wear and tear, so we're going to go ahead and replace it now. Fair? Reasonable? No. Lawful. Balance. Makes sense. So you've got to read all terms and conditions. If you don't, go see a lawyer. We do it for free. It's a lot of fun. And that would be it. Questions? I know I've made you excited. So you cannot email anyone. You've got to read everything. Keep a copy. So avoiding problems, first, buyer beware. We mean it. You are absolutely 100% on your own. You're an adult. The minute you turned 18, you woke up with all the knowledge of the law that I went and got a degree to explain to you. Think that irony through. You turned 18, so the law says you're an adult. Magically you know it, because ignorance is not a defense. But I had to go to law school and get a special degree and pass an exam to be able to lawfully explain to you that which you woke up knowing. Logic? Lawful, right? Remember this? We're back to this again, y'all. It doesn't have to make sense. Normally, when you're drunk, you can't commit to a contract because you don't have the wherewithal. But when you're drunk, you could totally commit to doing GWI tests because you're the reason you're drunk and being tested. Make sense? In other words, when you're drunk, normally you can't consent to anything except when you're consenting to incriminate yourself in a drunk driving charge. Irony. Beautiful. So pay attention because you're on your own. Buyer beware, all right? Second, put it in writing. Get it in writing. Get it in writing. Get it in writing. Always. And then follow the writing. So after you put it in writing, make sure what's there it says it, and then follow it. Too often we'll bother to write it down and then change our mind. So your friend wants to borrow $500 to put down on the Colorado spring break you're going to pay, and they're going to pay you back when they get their taxes, right? So you write it down. Okay, John gave me $500. He promises to pay me back by April 15th. Okay. But then April 15th comes, he goes, man, I haven't filed. Turns out taxes this year due on the 17th, so I'll pay you when I get my return. You say, all right, that's fine, but we don't change that. Well, now we're in March, we get into April, we get into May, you still haven't gotten your money. You're like, hey, man, what happened? He's like, no, you waived that. Remember you told me I didn't know it to you anymore. Since you waived it and no one ever put it down in writing, how are you going to prove when it's your word against his and you both waived that which you'd originally put down? Can't be nice, y'all. You've got to put it in writing. So really, just don't do it. But you've got to remember that. Put it in writing, then follow through on what you write. Don't deviate from it. Cash. You can see what I wrote there. You generally don't want to have cash. Cash is for things you don't want to admit you bought. Can we think of some things that would be good with cash? I bet you can. Maybe if Michael Cohen had used cash, we wouldn't be having a situation right now. It's Trump's lawyer. Bad joke. Okay. You get it. Cash is for things you don't want to trace. If you want to prove you've paid a bill off, use a credit card. Use a check. Have a paper trail of how you did it. Let's say you're going to go buy a car, and they want you to pay cash. Do not give them actual cash bills. Get that cash, go directly to your bank, and get a money order, which is the same as cash for that amount. That way you show a withdrawal at your bank for the exact amount of the payment, and then you immediately got a money order for it. You've tied it together with a paper trail. But if you just got $500 extra at the bank, and then 4 days later you met them up and gave them the cash, you can't prove anything. Make sense? So be really careful with that. Money is an important part of it. You see that through everything. Don't take legal advice from non-lawyers. Stop asking friends who've gotten in trouble what they did. That is not a person for advice. And I find that for some reason we really trust other people to know the law, but you never do that with legal advice. Hey man, I'm having a murmur. You think I need to get this checked out? Look at my tooth. You think that cavity needs a filling? We would never do that with ordinary friends, but we will certainly go, I don't know what to do with this ticket. What do you think I should do? You got one a few years ago, right? What did your brother do when he got arrested? That is not how we should be getting legal advice. There's a reason, I promise. There's value in it. So talk to a real lawyer. Don't ask buddies who've gotten in trouble. Buy stamps. Go buy stamps. Please, 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 please buy stamps. I have a whole roll of 50 in my wallet. They're wonderful. And I'll tell you too, because we're a brand new society, I've never not had email. Okay, never not had internet. Landlords can't stand paper mail. They love when you guys rely on instant communication because they know the law doesn't require it. So I've had students who've been emailing and going in person and filling out the online portal and got nowhere, but they mail one letter within 24 hours the problem is fixed because the letter starts the law. So think about where you're at. Most people are still complaining and going in person and emailing them. You're going to be the one letter out of 50 complaints that came in the mail, and guess who's going to get their problem solved? You. Because it's lawful then. Stamps. 50 cents. Save yourself the hassle. Also, they hate when they get that letter. I'll tell you, you feel a little feared at the first, oh my God, they wrote me a letter. I haven't received one of these in years. When's the last time you got a mailed letter from someone besides your parents? Yeah, there you go. See, you got bills and nothing else. So write a letter. It's a lot of fun. Questions?
Actually, maybe not so much a question as just reaffirming something that you said about the terms and conditions. Because I know it's really easy to listen to a speaker tell you guys this stuff, but equating it to real world stuff, my very first car, I wasn't working, didn't have credit, so my mom co-signed for me. And her credit wasn't very good, so when she was just signing papers away, not paying attention to anything, she signed one saying they could turn my car off for non-payment. I was 1 day late on my payment and they stopped my car. And I had no idea what was going on because I didn't sign any of those papers. My mom couldn't even remember signing papers. She just signed what was put in front of her. And they certainly just stuck it in there. They didn't actually mention it afterwards or anything. So there I was stuck in a whole other city without being able to turn my car on. And once I got there to fix it, explain everything, it still took several hours that I was stuck there. So really and honestly, like this is the kind of stuff that they love to get over on you. My very first apartment, we had a guy make threatening against a neighbor and I. So because it was her significant other, she was able to get out of her lease. The cops actually went and talked to the apartment and said he made physical threats against my child and I, but because he was not our significant other, they wouldn't let me out of the lease.
What?
Yeah, so I ended up.
That's a violation of law. If you proceed
to pay.
So just since it's there, and she's made a point. So in domestic violence, generally in Texas, once you put your name on a lease, you're stuck. Death does not automatically end a lease. You know why? A little history on that. You know why death won't end a lease automatically, ladies? They were protected us. Turns out, prior to the Property Rights Act, we couldn't sign a contract. We were from your chattel. Female brain. So we got married. Oh, thank God for a man in our lives. Y'all could actually take care of us, sign those contracts. But what would happen is the man would sign the lease for the house. Then he'd go off to war and he would die. And they would just kick the widow and the kids out. Go, honey, go get a new husband because you can't pay the bills. Well, that seemed wrong because we had a lot of women who were then otherwise taking care of their homesteads who were now getting kicked off. So they made the law say that death went automatically in the lease. This way, if the female or the person left over had the wherewithal and had the income to keep the lease going, the landlord could just reaffirm it and keep going. In the 60s, when they finally gave us rights under the Property Rights Act, they forgot about some of those old things. They just left it there. So still to this day, if you pass away, your family has 30 days to send a copy of the certificate and get out of the lease. Otherwise, they ratify it and keep owning it. And strange as that sounds, there may be a reason for that. Maybe you need time to remove all that Levelwood's property. But yeah, definitely in the lease. For that, though, with domestic violence, it's one of the few exceptions. After you sign the lease, if you are already in the military and they deploy you for 90 consecutive days or longer, you can give notice of the deployment and immediately break the lease without penalty and move. But it's 90 days or more. So during Hurricane Harvey, when National Guard was called up, that did not count. That was 65 days. Fair? Reasonable? You got to feel bad for some of the landlords at Hurricane Harvey. They all lost half a year of income immediately overnight, right? Like, it's gone. The other exception is domestic violence. If you are a victim of stalking, harassment, sexual assault, domestic violence, a whole bevy of claims, and you seek a protective order from that county and you receive the protective order, you literally put it in the landlord's hand and leave. Bye! No notice. You put the letter in their hand and you leave because you're a victim. Someone is stalking you or harassing you. Get out of that scary place. And it applies to other people in the lease as well. Because just because I'm the one who went and sought it, it's very likely that this person is going to keep coming to that location looking for me, in which case she's now in danger. So as a rule, generally, once you've got that order, the landlord will let everyone out. And in fact, in seeking the order, they can include you in it.
Well, we weren't, and we were neighbors.
That would make the distinction.
So that's how they got around that. But because I was the one who called the police on him, he knew that. So that's what started that. But yeah, because we were neighbors and not under the same lease.
You could talk to the county attorney about saying if you're covered in some form or way. It does take a lot to get a protective order. There must be an active, specific threat going on. It can't just be a feeling of discomfort. So there's a step up for that. But there are quite a few laws about it. So if you're ever in that situation, immediately seek resources, which is why at the bottom of this I've got some free legal resources. TexasLawHelp.org is a website. It's amazing. It is so good. I know a lot of practicing lawyers who go and get their forms from that website. It's very useful. If you know anyone who is seeking a divorce and they have, sort of relatively few income assets, they just need to clean up the name and get their name back and make sure custody is arranged, there's an entire set of forms that you can do all on your own that's really helpful, and it's in 2 different languages. Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid is free lawyers, so you could call them and let them know what your situation is, and they have a variety of programs that could put you with an attorney for free to answer your questions and assist you with what that is. The Lawyer Referral Service of Central Texas, you call that number, tell them what your problem is. I need to get an immigration, I have a DACA question, I'm getting divorced, I need a will, I got rear-ended outside of ACC and I don't know who hit me, any of those things. You call Central Referral Service, they'll give you a list of lawyers you can call, and it's only $20 to meet with those lawyers. So it's a way to, because a lot of people just want to ask a question like, I don't even know if I have a lawsuit. So that way you can go and figure out, can I just fix it on my own, or do I need to employ a lawyer? It's a really good start there. And if you tell them you're enrolled at ACC, they may have a program for UT, they waive that $20. They may have the same offer here. And a lot of lawyers will offer discounts if you mention your college. And then last, the UT Law School offers legal clinics, which are for anyone in Texas. So it's not for UT students. The law clinics are third-year law students with practicing attorneys guiding them to assist people in the community. So they do a lot of immigration cases, a lot of divorce, a lot of fraud and debt collection cases and tax as well. But mostly we have students that are in DACA or immigration questions. We immediately go to the law clinic, and they'll take everyone's case. So they've been doing a lot of work with that. So no assumptions. If you believe it, ask why do I think that to be true? Is it because that seems the nice outcome? Then it's probably not lawful. Does that make sense? Like, think Game of Thrones. Okay, there's barely, it's like, oh, I guess they can do that. Yeah, probably so. But knowledge is key. So reading it and put it in writing is the best protection. That was exciting. Any other questions? Yeah, absolutely.
DCMA warnings, you get one and you stop doing whatever you were doing. Is that the end of it, or can you still be legally?
I didn't hear if I get what warning?
DCMA, the Digital Copyright Millennium Act.
Oh yeah. We get a lot of those. Sure. Oh yeah, we get a lot of those. In fact, are you still recording? It may be that my institution was sort of prolific in the early 2000s for that at UT. They were really proud of on-campus Ethernet. We used it. We got a whole lot of the recording industry of RIA lawsuits originally. Those were all the illegal downloaded, and then of course, technology caught up and we began purchasing music lawfully online. What we get more now is the Movie Association, MPAA, Movie Picture Association of America, and yeah, they'll send you a letter and they'll let you know exactly what movie you're accused of downloading and what day and time it was. And sometimes what we find is that it wasn't you, it was your roommate or your boyfriend when you were in class who was using your computer. They give you the names of the films, they're very specific.
So once that does happen,
then you end up getting to settle, and they generally offer to settle for about $3,000 per offense. And the amount of money you spend on a lawyer to help defend you against that is going to cost you more than that, because that's a specialized lawyer who's licensed in federal court with a certain kind of, So generally most people end up paying, and they go on a payment plan, and they make it out in 6 months, $500 a month for 6 months. Oh yeah. No. It happens a lot, and I can tell because the student comes in holding a letter with a very, very specific kind of expression. Especially when it's like, sometimes there's a gender issue that happens there. One gender is talking to another gender, and they're very embarrassed of what they're doing, and they just staring a hole into the desk as opposed to looking at my reception, like, hi, hello. Remember that. One young lady was very convinced she'd never downloaded those movies, but her boyfriend totally did it.
So in that case, did she have to deal with
No. He acknowledged that he had unauthorized use of her computer. That was a fun conversation, too. He had to write a letter that says, though she'd allowed me to use her computer, she'd done that so I could check my email for lawful purposes and belonging to my school, and instead I used it to go to any number of websites. So. Yeah. And parents get those letters, too. Here's another fun one. If you get arrested, That's immediately a public record, which is why your website, your mugshot immediately goes on the internet. Do you know how your folks will find out you got arrested? If you don't update your driver's license address, that's the address that they generally book you in on, and lawyers buy a list of everyone who gets arrested every week and then sends out flyers, glossy mailers, so that your mailman knows why you got arrested. And when about 48 hours after your release, your home address will get about 15 really shiny, glossy cards. So it's, I don't need to open that letter to know why it's here. You've got a DWI, we'll help. And what I usually see is, remember I told that to a student who literally left my office to drive to Dallas and get to the mailbox. Like, I cannot be caught. You have fun with that. But you'll get quite a few, and you're welcome. All those people are great. Those are all legitimate ways of conducting business. So, you know, it's like when you move into a house. Magically, you get interior decorators and lawn pests and stuff like that. Like, how'd you even know I moved here? That's public record.
I know some in small towns, at least, especially small towns with the police departments that are more internet savvy, they post that on Facebook.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I have a family member discovered an arrest in the family that way. They looked up to see if this person had graduated from something, and instead they found their photo.
Yeah, I had somebody contact me from my high school saying, hey, do you know that the police are looking for your brother? And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
I get a lot after the arrest is over and the case has been dismissed. You know, I want to expunge my record. I want this embarrassing photo to be taken off of, you know, the internet. And expunction is a wonderful thing that you're eligible for if your case is dismissed. And it's an erasing of the record. And it's really nice so that you can officially, you know, go and look at your transcript, and it's not a Q, it's not a pass-fail, it's like you never took the class at all. You know, you dropped it early enough that it's gone from the transcript. That's what an expunction looks like, except that that's a legal fiction. It's still a fact that you got arrested. It's still a fact that that happened, that you got a lawyer, that a case was suspended. It still happened. Lawfully, you don't have to explain it. The distinction with that is that it's never illegal for your friends to rat you out. Right? So, you know, it's great that you expunged it, but if 10 years from now I'm running for higher office, let me not use myself because I am a candidate. But you know what I mean? Like, anyone can come back and be like, hey, actually, when they were 21, I remember having to go get them out of jail at Austin because they got too drunk. Right? It's lawful for them to share those stories. Or to get on Facebook and be like, she totally got arrested last night. That's not illegal. Fact is a fact. Okay? So, it is a fact that you got arrested and you have a mugshot. Maybe it's a flattering photo, maybe it's not. You know, the hot bug guy, he's a model now. The hot
I know.
right? So, he's great. Nick Nolte, not so much. Rick Perry fundraised with his mugshot. Remember that? Oh yes, he did. He went into walk-through bond for his charge. A walk-through bond is pretty common. Everyone can do it. You just go with your lawyer, and they say, okay, here he is, and they say thank you, and they stamp it, and they release you from jail. You don't even go in the jail. You don't even put on the jumpsuit. They just take your photo and you leave. And that's what he did. So after he got his photo, he left, and he went over to Sandy's and got frozen ice cream. And then they put the mugshot on a photo on a T-shirt, raising Rick Perry funds, and that was how he paid his legal fee. Decent, reasonable, shameful, lawful, right? Wonderful back and forth in that one. The law is wonderful, and it is there, and it will protect you, but you got to follow it, which means terms and conditions. All right. If you have any questions, contact me. You can find me on the State Bar, Facility of Home. Hopefully in January, you'll see me as next Justice of the Peace for Southwest Travis County, which is this county right here. So, been doing this for a decade. I absolutely love small claims because it's below $10,000. It's almost exclusively kitchen table. When you go home at night, the things you're discussing about what's involving you at work, you know, the vet bill. Can you believe they think it's going to cost $1,000 to fix that? I don't believe so. I think they're taking us for a ride. And then you have a dispute about that. You know, I put down a down payment on the car to get the engine rebuilt, and they've not done it. It's been 3 weeks. How much longer is this going to go? Those are the sort of things that would go into small claims, and you wouldn't necessarily need a lawyer. What you would need is proof in writing, proof of payment, because you didn't use cash, and a mailed letter to that person disputing the debt. And then you've got a lawsuit. All right? So it's nothing fancy, no super language. It's mostly just procedural. Question?
Yeah, I have a question. So a couple semesters ago, I was walking across the street from Northridge. I just gotten off the bus, and a mail carrier guy hit me, and I ended up going to the hospital and broke my leg.
Oh gosh.
And I didn't have insurance. I just had Christian Healthcare Ministries or whatever.
You don't need insurance if you're not the person. I mean, he hit you.
So should they Would the Postal Service have to pay for that?
If you have thought, yeah. Call a personal injury attorney. Your case is free. They'll take you up for contingency.
Were you jaywalking though?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, now that may be the brush that caused the wreck.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, even if you're, like, let's say the light says it's free to cross, but you're not in the marked crosswalk, you get hit by a car, you're more likely at fault than they are. And I point that out on campus to students who jaywalk in front of me every day, and I'm like, I'm your lawyer, and you're doing this. That's okay. They don't know. I did it too.
I was just kind of following the crowd, just like everyone's crossing. And
You can definitely call a personal injury attorney and explain your situation, and they will happily meet with you free of charge to decide if it's worth your case. Did y'all ever see the race of, you're too old for to have seen Philadelphia with Tom Hanks, first Oscar win? It is a classic. It's a good film. It's him and Denzel Washington. And Denzel, they're both lawyers. Tom Hanks is a high-collar, white-collar lawyer, but Denzel is like ambulance chasing and PI, okay? And Tom Hanks needs a lawyer, and literally no one will take his case. So he works his way through all the good lawyers, and finally he finds himself over in Denzel Washington's office. And the first thing you meet with Denzel is he's got a client in front of him. And Denzel says to him, so let me get this straight. You're walking down the street, you see a ladder with scaffolding above it. You decide the only way to cross the street is to go underneath that scaffolding. And when you do, it fell on you. Yeah, do you have a case? Yes, you do, and there's no fee until we recover. Sign right here. Meaning that any case is valid for a personal injury attorney sometimes. That's not always true, y'all, but it was a good indication in that film. One of the few films that I found to still be realistic after finishing law school. And My Cousin Vinny, good film. I'm dead serious. Law professors will tell you to watch it because it is a really good example of evidence. Law and Order is horrible. I loved it all through law school, and then I got out and started practicing criminal defense, and Jack McCoy breaks the law every single day. That is the worst attorney. He should be disbarred. Horrible violations of due process and civil rights on that show. So very compelling. All right, you guys have been great. I hope this has been helpful. If nothing else, you know to buy stamps. Because email doesn't count. I really can't say that strongly enough, y'all. Stamps. Thank you. I'll stay around and get a questions.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for coming.
I'm sorry for that delay.
Oh, no worries.
I assumed I'd know what I was doing, and I didn't have directions.
Please join us. We have one more hashtag Boss Lady for the series for the spring semester. Excuse me, we have two more, April 24th and May 3rd. So please come join us. They're always from 2 to 3 p.m. here in this room, and they will be recorded for each one. So if you would like more information, grab a flyer on your way out. There are handouts right here on women's empowerment and little empowering sayings, so please feel free to grab as many as you want. They are more than enough right there for everybody. If you did not sign in, please stop and sign in on your way out so that I can have an accurate count of everybody who attended. Thank you again so much for coming. We appreciate it.
That might think of talking to the ACC board about establishing a free lawyer for your campus. So we were founded in the 60s, and every student on campus pays $3. And that's it for the whole year, $3. Completely funds our office with attorneys and full insurance. So that's something that y'all could do, and anyone at ACC could go to the same attorney as like an adjunct attorney. A really good idea, because you're going to have a lot of time. So we see 1,800 individual cases a year, and we never advertise.
Fill out your evaluation.
Quite a bit. $3. They have 3 full-time attorneys. Texas Tech has 5. 5. Pretty much every college in Texas has one of these programs. So Texas Women, Texas Southern, Texas A&M, Baylor has one. It's pretty cool. I'm so tired of explaining underage drinking. Misrepresentation. I got it down. I got it. Fake IDs. I'm so tired of that. Now we're in April, so in about a week I'll start getting, I don't know, marijuana cases toward the end of the month for some reason. I don't know, right around the 21st or so, they show up. I don't know why. All right, you guys were awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I just told my aunt about you. My aunt